among us today. There is somebody here who has plowed many fields and made many ways in consciousness. And he's one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. I don't get to see him as often as I would like, but he ordained me. Wow. And he is a spiritual giant and a wonderful man. So Ray, would you come up here and say a few words? Please, sir.
Amen.
This is Ray Basil, 87 years young.
I'd just like to let everybody know what a joy it is for me to be here among such a people as this. I know the most of you, but to look back to where we've all come from and to think I'm getting to see this day and be a part of it with no reservations.
Wow.
My papa used to say, come hell or high water, I'm in over my head.
We got high water.
We got the high water, and they just took me to hell, so.
It may not be the last time.
But it's just an awesome honor, isn't it? To think that Barbara and Lyle would put something like this together and then turn around and invite us to be here. I love you guys.
Yeah, love her right back.
I have Lynn Hayes got us to order a book. And most of you have it, I'm sure. I can't pick up anything else. I want to. My Avis, we've got all kinds of books. And she said, look here. I want to read that. But when I started reading, I go like this one. You suppose I'd ever lay this one down? But I'd like to read you something from it that resonates with me. You know, it's not for everybody. Some of you don't know, some of you didn't know that my kid brother passed away 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. He was a Navy guy, was in the Korean conflict. He was a Korean prisoner for a while, he survived all of it. And when we were kids in high school, everybody thought we were twins. We were the same height, we were the same kind of clothes. We only had one pair, you know, to wear to school. And he was Pete, and I was Repeat. So if one of us got into a fight, both of us got into a fight. Whatever one did, the other did. So we were kind of close. And so we drove to Illinois to where he died. He had a heart attack and died instantly. So I walked up to look at him in the funeral home. There's my blood. No big deal. I knew. But all of a sudden, something in me was telling me he got something to tell me. And I wanted, because I knew he was kind of an old classic Pentecostal guy. Women couldn't preach and all that stuff. But I knew the moment he stepped out of that old house that he lived in all those years, the moment he stepped out of there, he was ready to tell me things. And I wanted to hear and couldn't. Y'all ever had that experience? I'll tell you where I'm at. I'm at the point now where I will hear.
Amen.
We've had experiences from other ages and other world, you know, and they're always telling me things, but I can't hear. But I'm going now where I will hear. I may not be able to relate what I hear, but I need to know things while I'm still in this house. Because when I move out here, I'm going to know a heap of stuff that I don't know yet. Somebody said, well, I'm looking for that. I ain't. I don't want to go nowhere. I'm as happy Man, I'm as content as a dead pig in the sunshine. Why would I want to move out of this house, even though the other one will be different, but why would I want to move out of here? Y'all hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
I've got my lovely wife, you know, my kids, my grandkids. Well, some of the days I'll move. But until then, my heart will just go on singing. Here's what I want to read.
What's the name of the book, Ray?
Pardon me?
What's the name of the book in your hand?
The Emerald Tablets?
Oh.
The what?
The
I
Emerald
thought so,
Tablets.
but I didn't realize it was so small.
There's more than one book. I just have the one. And during these meetings, this has been made so vivid. All symbols are the keys to doors leading to truth. All symbols are the keys to doors leading to truth. What do you think about that? And many times, the door is not open because the key seems so great that the things which are beyond it are not visible. I read that, and I read that. I'm still reading that. And little by little, it began to make sense. If we can understand that all the keys, all material symbols or manifestations are but extensions of a great law and truth, we will begin to develop a vision which will enable us to penetrate beyond the veil. All keys, all symbols are keys that open, that lead to doors to truth. Now, when he first, well, Lynn first introduced me to this book, I thought, whoa, am I ready for that? But he was talking some time ago. And I don't know about, I came through the Pentecostal works. Like her, I came through the deliverance ministry, did missionary work, the whole thing, you know. Taught Bible schools, though I never had a degree. Built Bible schools in foreign countries. All that stuff. And I don't begrudge one minute of it. Because I tell you the truth, when I was there, I enjoyed it. Man, I enjoyed doing what I was doing. So when we began to know a little different, there's just a tinge of fear that I don't get the wrong book, hear the wrong thing, you know, make the wrong move. And I don't really know when I did, but I did. When I lost the fear, all fear, my heart opened to receive all things.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no fear. No. I say I fear nothing. But when I lost my fear, the door opened. Now I'm not afraid of nothing. If I hear something that don't resonate with me, so what?
Right.
I told some of you this, and you may not like it, that's fine. I don't care what you believe. It don't matter to me. It really don't. It just don't. Because if you believe like mine, it'll change tomorrow anyway. No big deal. We have a charter, state charter, that qualifies us, we've had it for 30 years, that allows us to ordain ministry. And I know what you think, just a piece of paper, true. But if you know what we know, there are some places you cannot go and do what you need to do if you don't have a piece of paper showing that you are who you say you are. That's just the way it is. You know, right or wrong, good or bad, that's just the way it is. So we've ordained people, who knows how many, what. So we knew a young man in Tennessee. He called me and said, would you ordain me? I only asked one question. Do you really feel like you want to be ordained? He said, yes. I said, we'll do it. But when we ordain people, and there's a lot of paperwork involved because it's registered with the state, we never ask them what they believe. There's no fees, there's no monthly fee. You don't send me nothing every year to renew, none of that stuff. The thing we knew about him, he's gay. And somebody found out that we ordained a gay preacher. My question was, why not?
Amen.
Who am I to say, hey, your lifestyle is wrong and mine's right? Not my lifestyle, that's his. So who am I to sit and judge and tell that man because of the lifestyle he lives, you can't be ordained?
Amen.
It's not my book. Now, 30 years ago, it was different market. So I said that, let me read this and then I'll quit. This is something else in the last few weeks. It really began to resonate in my heart. When man conquers death, he also has mastered life. What do you think about that? When man has conquered death, he also has mastered life, and to him both cease to exist. What do you think about that? Can he conquer death? I bet we can. For me, this is where I went to with what I heard. To conquer death is to lose the fear of it. And they don't exist. They don't exist. But when you do, neither death nor life exists for you. You become I am. Thank you. Here, you can say,
Roy, what was the last of what you said when you conquered? If life and death no longer exist, you now have what?
once you conquer death, neither one exists.
And then what else did you say?
To me, it's like the brother showed in the time thing this morning. We've been told all our life, oh, you better die.
Yeah,
And yet Jesus said, you'll never die.
right.
What we do with that?
I had asked Barb today if it was okay if I just took a couple minutes to kind of set the stage for this song. I'd like to share a small little project that I've been hired to participate in. How many have heard of Dolores Cannon?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful lady. Well, she's now deceased. But she has written several books. She's written 16 actually. And there's one of these books called Between Death and Life. And she has conversations with the spirit, but she also has done a lot of past life regressions. And she also interviews people who have died and have come back. And says, you know, that there are different stories, but there is a definite vein that goes through consistently through all of them. But she also has conversations with spirits from other dimensions. And they did these 16 books, and so she wanted to have them transferred to audio, to an audio book. So she started doing this book. She got through just about a quarter of the first chapter. She got through the preface, and then she got through about a quarter of the chapter, and then she passed away. So her family and the producer wanted to continue on with these books, but they needed to find a voice for Dolores. And I won't go into all the details, but I'm that voice! It was just really cool. I won't go into any details about how I was selected, but I went through the selection process, and I am also the voice of the female spirits that she speaks to. And I don't have to change my voice. And what they do is when Dolores asks the question or she talks about some things and then a spirit answers her, they change the tone of the spirit speaking, and they put a lot of reverb in it, and it's really cool. But we're almost done with the first book, so then we go on to book 2. So this has been a really exciting project for me. But I wanted to just read a couple things from this book. The song that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight is called He's Been Faithful. And I want to focus on that word he, and who and what that he is. And this is Dolores who has written this, and she says, when you ask anyone to describe their concept of God, you are asking a very complex question, because there are probably as many definitions for God as there are people. Our inner visualization of what God must be like is conditioned by our religious upbringing. And this is what we usually fall back on. The early church had to present God in as simple a way as possible in order for the people of the times to conceive him at all. I believe that people down through the ages just accepted these early presentations of him, and many didn't bother to question further, but believed the picture the church had given them. She said, the concept of God is neither male nor female. He does not have a gender. He is a huge energy that is beyond belief in its power and scope. God is not a life form. We want to attach personification on God and make God in our image with flesh and blood. She went on to say, God is a life force that permeates everything there is. There are no words. I know we've talked a lot about the Greek and the Hebrew and so on and so forth, but there are no words that can adequately come close to describing who or what he is. She was talking with a spirit, and she was questioning about who God is. And this was the answer, part of the answer, although quite a lengthy answer, but this is it in a nutshell. He is vibration. He is color. He is energy. He is symbols. He is tones. He is sound, which goes through everything. She said, God is not separate from us. He is intimately joined with us, in us, and is us. Perhaps, and she was asking the spirit that she was communicating with, and the spirit said, perhaps it would clarify to understand the blood system in the human body, which we've already talked about, which is made up of individual cells or aspects. The system itself could not be whole without the individual hemoglobins. However, each hemoglobin is not complete without being in the system. Thus, all is one, and one is all. Each cannot exist without the other, or it would fall apart. So he is in us, he loves us, he's in us now, forever, and forever will be in us. So I hope that this song, as I sing it, He's Been Faithful, think of the He that is in you. Because if we will look within, that's where we'll find him. In my moments of fear, through every pain, every tear, there's a God who's been faithful to me. When my strength was all gone, when my heart had no song, still in love, he proved faithful to me. Every word he's promised is true. What I thought was impossible, I see my God do. He's been faithful, to me. His love and mercy I see. Though in my heart I have questioned and failed to believe, yet he's been faithful in me. When my heart looked away, the many times I could not pray, still my God, he was faithful to me. The days I've spent so selfishly, reaching out for what pleased me, even then he was faithful to me. Every time I come back with him, he is waiting with open arms, and I see once again. He's been faithful, to me. Looking back
In case you don't know who this guy is, he's an archbishop, among other things. He's my friend. I've known him for a long time. And what he has to say tonight, he bless you. Come here.
We are definitely in a shift. I first met Ray Basil in 1998 at a conference in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And at that time, neither one of us would have anything to do with what we're in now. I'm just so grateful.
Yeah.
I have so many people ask me, Gary, how did you get where you are? And I have to say, I don't know. Years ago, as a child, I so desperately wanted what I knew to be the truth. I knew as a child it was possible to live as Christ on the earth, but I didn't know how to do it. And I spent years seeking and crying and begging for truth. And when I first started to minister, I don't think I ever would have if it hadn't been for Carol. Because I had written a book called The Character of God in You. And it's still one of my favorite writings. Because how I shared in that book how it was possible to live as God on the earth. That's why I titled it The Character of God in You. Because that's what's happening to each of us. I mean, that is the shift. It's coming from a carnal human understanding into the revelation of I am on this earth. And it has been quite a process. I wouldn't have anything to do with New Age for a long time. And because of what I was taught about it, you know, it was deceptive, it was a false Christ, a cosmic false Christ. It was one of the devil's greatest deceptions to deceive the Christian church, and so I wouldn't touch it. But see, that is our problem. We're taught to accept what the church says. And we can't trust our experience because there are those who are much more experienced than we are, and we need to listen to them. But I came home one day from a conference and Carol said to me, she said, I just listened to someone on TV who talks and sounds exactly like you. I said, really? Who is that? And he just recently passed away. You know who that was? Wayne Dyer. So he caught my ear right away. I've listened to him for, you know, several years now. And then I began to realize that speaking about the Wizard of Oz, I was all of those guys. I was frightened. I didn't have any courage. In fact, I used to cancel meetings because I was too scared to go speak. But I had written that book, The Courage of God in You, and Carol said to me, why don't you give that book away? Why don't you wrote it, I had several copies, she said, why don't you share it with some people? I said, Carol, and this is the truth, I said, I will never, ever do anything to promote myself. And so she said, well, why did you write the book? And I said, I wrote it for myself more than anybody else. But we were going to a home Bible study meeting at that time, and she took, I don't know, 1 or 2 of those books, gave it to somebody in that meeting that read it, and was just absolutely thrilled, and began to talk about it. And the next thing I know, we were getting requests for that book through the mail. That's how we got started. And that first year that we began to mail out books, we sent out 50,000 books to 70-some countries within the first year of our ministry. But I still had so much more I needed to understand. Success don't always make you happy. There's only one thing that I ever wanted in my whole life that I desperately sought for. And that was to be like those men I read about in the New Testament, who even the very shadow crossing someone from them sometimes would bring healing. And many of you know, after 13 years of crying and begging and pleading with God, I woke up on July 11, 1982, realizing that everything I desired, everything I wanted, I already was. And from that day to this, I've had the courage, I've had the heart, and I can't say I did anything. The period that we're living in is the period of the awakening, and it's taking place all over the world. And once you begin that awakening process, it'll take the struggle out of you. Because you begin to walk in the reality of who you are. And once you know who you are, like I said, I was so fearful when I didn't want to preach. I still don't. But when I began to get calls to come here and there, there was many times that I would call and cancel the meeting because I was too scared to stand before people and talk. You could put me in front of 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 people today, and I had no fear whatsoever. Because perfect love does what?
Cast out fear.
Casts out fear. And I'll tell you what, many of you are probably experiencing ascension and don't even realize what it is. I've been going through some stuff here for, I don't know, a while, not a long time, a couple of weeks or so, where I've been irritable. And I'm never irritable. Carol can tell you we were married for 3 years before she ever saw me get upset or angry. I'm not irritable. but I've been irritable. And maybe a little grouchy. But see, there's so much pure energy flowing now to this realm. And it is going to bring up all the negativity. Even stuff you didn't even know was there. It's going to come up. And so it's not a bad thing. I've never felt really bad about being irritable or guilty about it. I just didn't understand it. But I did come into the understanding that that's what it is. It's just all of this energy that's pouring into us is going to cause symptoms. And one of the symptoms I've had is my vision is changing all the time. Sometimes my vision will get so blurry I can hardly read. And at other times, my vision will get so clear I can take off my glasses and read the newspaper. That's part of the process. Everything in our being is being upgraded. If any of you have studied this, you know that there's even new chakras being added to us
Yes.
that we hasn't been active before. I can't think of anything better than what we are experiencing right now. That the love of God is so powerful that for me, it's hard for me to see negativity. I'm talking about when I look at somebody else, you just know the truth of their being. And no matter how negative they are, just you being in their presence without even speaking a word can transmute some of that. I think this is some of the stuff that Barbara talks about. We're learning about oneness, not just intellectually, but we're learning about oneness experientially. I don't know if we'll ever all believe alike. It's not what you believe that matters. It's who you are and what you know. I'll never forget, many of you know Preston Eby. And back several years ago, there was several ministries that tried to put down our ministry. And so Preston called me up and he said, I know you're going to be, it's when we went to Alamogordo, he said, I know you're going to be in Alamogordo. He said, how about if you fly into El Paso and ride with me to Alamogordo? Because he was one of the speakers. No, it wasn't Alamogordo, it was later. But anyway, so I went to his house and we spent some time talking together. And he said, and this was a little later on, he said, Gary, ever since we met together, he said, the one thing I discerned about you right away was your heart. And he said, since that time, I've listened to every CD you've ever made. And he said, I can't say I agree with everything you say, but when I hear something that I don't agree with, I just say, well, that's just the way Gary sees it. That's an attitude. And that's a wonderful attitude. Somebody says something, you can't buy it, or you can't agree with it, that's the way they see it. We are all individuals on an individual journey. And you won't necessarily agree with my journey, and I might not agree with yours, but we can agree on the truth and the reality of our being, knowing that all of us have our own path and our own journey, and we're all going to end up in the same place. And I, John, saw the holy city, remember that? Descending out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. You are that city. The city that's coming down out of the heavens of your consciousness and flooding your being. You are becoming as a bride adorned for the husband, full with love and compassion and everything that you desire to be, you are. Thank you. There's streets of gold in that city. Think of that, walking down streets of gold. Well, we know gold represents the divine nature. And so walking on a golden street is not you walking in some city that has golden streets, it's you walking in the divine nature. That's what we're doing. We're walking in the divine nature. Wizard of Oz reveals a lot of spiritual truth. And no matter what it is that you're seeking, one day you'll discover there's no need to seek because that's who I am. You don't have love, you are love. You don't have peace, you are peace. I walked in a house one day when I first went to minister at a church in Oregon. And the lady of the house picked me up at the airport, took me to their home. And when I walked in the house, her teenage boy said, "Mom, did you feel the peace when he walked in the house?" I've never heard that before. But it's wonderful to know that just your very presence can be an effect. You don't have to know anything. You don't have to study the Bible. You don't have to go to church. And I can promise you, everyone in this room is going through that change, or you wouldn't be here. And you may not understand it. You may not be able to figure out anything that Lynn or Barbara says or what I say. You might disagree with it, but I can promise you it's too late. You cannot sit in a presence like this and not be changed. You will be changed. And what I caution people all the time is please don't listen to your brain. Don't listen to your carnal understanding. We must learn to live by the heart. To live by the anointing that abides within. Because you can hear something that sounds absolutely nonsensical. Yet there's something deep inside that knows it's truth. I've had so many people say to me, "I love to hear what you say, but I just can't agree with it. I wish it was true." And so I'd say, listen to your heart. Don't listen to your negativity. I had a person call me up one time and they said, "Gary, I absolutely love your ministry, but I got to give it up." And I said, "Why do you have to give it up?" "Well, my pastor," and I knew her pastor, he told me that I was being deceived by your words. And I said, "You just told me that what you've heard from me has blessed you more than anything in your life." "Oh," she said, "it has." And I said, "So you're going to let a pastor tell you that that's not good, that that's something evil?" And that happens to many people. Your training and your religious upbringing will shut down the truth is coming to you. We have to learn to listen to the heart. I was sharing that one day and somebody said to me, Gary, that can't be true because the Bible says that the heart is desperately, deceivably wicked. Well, I had to say, what does Ezekiel 36:26 say? I will take out your stony heart. I will give you a heart of flesh. I will arise or quicken my spirit within you, and I will cause you to walk in my statutes. You cannot possibly have an evil heart because you've been given a new heart. And if you will listen to that heart instead of your religious upbringing, you will soon arise out of the religious thinking and begin to walk as a son or daughter of God on the earth. Another experience I had, I think I've shared this one time before, but another experience I've had is my brother for probably 2 years tried to get me to listen to a message that was channeled. I said, I don't know. Because I was still in my old religious thinking that had to be the devil channeling a spirit. For God's sake, get that out of my, I don't even want to think about that. Well, he pestered me and he pestered me. He said, Gary, would you listen to just one tape? And then if you don't like it or you don't agree with it, you just leave it alone. So I said, okay, I'll listen to one tape. I put that tape in and pushed the play button. It was telling me about my experience. And the information on that one tape, I couldn't wait to hear another one. Do you know who that was? Esther Hicks. But see, my teaching and my fear would have stopped me from ever listening to that. Now, I don't wholeheartedly embrace channeling because there are spirits out there on all different levels. But you can't, I shouldn't say you can't, you just shouldn't fear. Like Ray said earlier, not afraid of anything. Lay it on me. If I don't like it, I'll just put it away. And I won't talk against it. I won't tell people don't listen to that. I won't tell them you shouldn't hear. For me, right now, that's not for me. But I may pick it up next year and think it's the best thing I ever heard. But see, if you don't somehow break free of your religious teaching and training, you cannot advance. Because religion was created to keep you in bondage, submission, and money. It's all about that. Somebody sent me a video here about a week ago. And one of the famous ministers was saying how you needed to sow that financial seed. And he said, I know some of you can't afford it because you've got credit card debts. But if you'll pull out that credit card debt and sow $1,000 seed, God will pay off that credit card. I heard this a couple of weeks ago. I heard that. Now, most of them aren't that blatant. Some of them will do. Carol and I was in a meeting, and it's been a few years ago, because we haven't been to church in I don't know how long, but it's many years ago. And a preacher came in, and he started his message by saying, I want to give some money away. So he pulled out a dollar bill and he gave it to the lady in the front. And he gave such a powerful message on giving. I mean, this guy was good. And when he got finished, somebody I knew wrote him a check and dropped it in the basket. And I said to that person, you have just been swindled. But being in the Word and Faith movement, I've been shoulder to shoulder with some of the greats, probably most of them. I even challenged one of them one time. But you see, if you're in that religious mindset, you are in so much bondage. I used to sit in the Pentecostal church and say, thank God I'm not in religion anymore.
Oh, my
But I couldn't smoke. I couldn't go to movies. Certainly couldn't chase women. I was so bound up, believing I was free. That's what I was taught. I was taught that freedom is bondage, and bondage is freedom. You're free if you don't smoke, you don't drink, you don't do this, you don't do that. When I first went into Pentecost, I took all of my liquor bottles and poured them down the sink, and I hadn't had a drink for years until I met somebody in the front row here.
Oh, my God.
I've said this many times, but I'll tell you what, you want to meet somebody that's free? I'm free. I can do anything. I won't do everything, but I can do anything. I enjoy going out and having a nice cigar. Would you believe that? I never told anybody that, but I started doing videos with Michael Nevins. And he said, Gary and I, he said this on live streaming video, Gary and I just went out to the graveyard and had a cigar. Life is absolutely wonderful.
Yes,
It
yes.
is, it's wonderful. We came here for the joy of life.
Yes.
That's why you're here. You didn't come into this world to try to change people. That's hopeless. You didn't come here to spread religion. You came here on a journey with a purpose. But the main goal of living as a human, coming from a divine, godly realm, living as a human is learning to enjoy the journey. Not the destination, but the journey.
Yes.
It's a wonderful, wonderful life that we live. And it helps to know that anything that happens to you doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And that's why you can be happy in any situation. I mean, I know physically, and it looks like I'm in pretty bad shape, but I'll tell you what, I'm in good shape for the shape I'm in. You can be happy, you can be joyful, no matter what situation you're in. And as you begin to wake up, you'll have the courage of the lion, you'll have the heart of the tin man, you'll have everything that you need. That you don't have to struggle and cry and whimper and whine over. Just be open. All it takes is openness. And be around people that just love you. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't hurt me. There's nothing any more important on the earth that you can do. Nothing more important you can do than to love and accept people, no matter who they are, no matter what they're doing. Carol and I was driving down the highway in Oregon one day, and we saw this person on the street holding this huge sign. Said, all gays are going to hell. What a way to preach the gospel. I think I'm asked that question more than probably anything else right now. Well, Gary, what do you think about gays? What do you think about what Paul said in Romans about gays? And you know what I say? I say if Paul was here today, he'd repent for that statement. But the Bible is the Word of God. No, it ain't. It can be to you. But the Word of God is the Word that the Spirit speaks to you. That's the Word of God.
Amen.
The Bible is the Word of men, anointed. Sure it is.
Yeah.
It's a word of men about God, their experiences of God. No more than that. And then we believe, at least we were taught to believe, that the Bible is the only holy book in the whole world. Give me a break. When I began to read the teachings of Buddha, some of the Sanskrit teachings, if you're open, it'll put what you've learned to shame. There's true spiritual teachings in all spiritual writings. Well, brother, what do you think about Jesus? You have to believe in him to be saved? I said, no. I used to believe that. I used to teach that. But how narrow? To think that God would require you to believe something that for a lot of people it's impossible to believe as a requirement, and if you don't believe, you go to an eternal place of torment. I never did buy that one, even as a child. It was something I asked my mom about that. And she said, well, Gary, only the bad people go there. Well, that got me right there. My mother was a wonderful, God-loving person, but she used to tell me when I was bad, Gary, you better be careful. One of these nights you might go to bed, and that devil might show up with a pitchfork and drag you off to hell.
Oh my God.
And my mother was a wonderful person. She was just ignorant as hell. Wayne Dyer, one of his famous quotes, you change the way you think about things, and the way you think, the way you think about things, and the things you think about will change.
Yeah.
Because whatever you focus on, no matter what it is, you will become. That's all I thought about as young, even up into my 20s. All I could think about is what I shouldn't be doing. Loving God, yet doing all this. That's all I thought about, that's all I prayed about. And the more I thought about it, the more I prayed about it, the more I did things I shouldn't do. But that morning I woke up and heard you are everything you've been seeking for. My focus just changed. You can change that quick. When you hear God, your life can change in a heartbeat. I'll never forget, I was a little bit ignorant too. I told my mom, I called her up one day and said, Mom, I said, God just spoke to me. She said, what did he say? I said, he told me there is no way that I'll ever be lost. I said, I could take out a gun and kill somebody and I'd still be in where he is eventually. She didn't like that at all. But that's how convinced I am. I know my destiny. One day all of us will stand manifesting the fullness of all that he is. Paul talks about a new man that's arising on the earth. We're that man. And man is not male or female, man is mankind.
Mhm.
There's a new mankind arising on the earth, manifesting the fullness of the glory and the magnificence and the essence of all that God is. That's your destiny. That's my destiny. Amen.
Is it hot in here?
Yes.
There's a